Imagine waking up in the 15th century Middle Ages, in an unfamiliar place. The room you would encounter wouldn't resemble a luxurious Airbnb. Even hot water, a clean bed, or a comfortable shelter were huge privileges. Your first instinct might be to wash your face, but the environment you were in was miles away from hygiene. The water you'd use to wash your hands was likely cloudy and dirty. Wiping yourself with a wet cloth was considered adequate cleaning for the day. When it came to your first meal of the day, breakfast often consisted of stale bread paired with beer. This was because beer was marginally safer than drinking water, as the fermentation process offered a slight protection against waterborne diseases. Even children would consume several bowls of low-alcohol beer soup daily. Monasteries and monks preferred to use barrels and barrels of beer instead of water. Your first chore in the morning would be to clean up the animal waste. This filth would soon become a priceless source of fertilizer for the fields. Upon reaching the fields, you would either be struggling to till the frozen, petrified soil for a handful of wheat or potatoes, or toiling for hours under the scorching summer sun. Most of this effort wasn't for you, but for the kings and queens you lived for, because you were a serf, paying taxes, obeying, and having no right to question. If you were a lucky peasant, your lunch would be a sort of mush, containing potatoes and wheat, similar to what you see. The contamination of water was such a severe problem that alcoholic beverages took its place. Without modern medicine and your strong immune system, how long could you survive on this moldy bread, dirty water, and beer? You had no dining luxuries. Dreaming of roasted lambs was futile. Your meat consumption was extremely limited. If you were lucky, you might fish by a river or eat smoked fish. However, the meat you generally consumed had been transported for days in wagons, breaking the cold chain and sold in open markets, lacking any hygiene. Red meat was rare. Pork was common during that era but sold under unhygienic conditions. People used a container called a chamber pot to directly empty their household waste and toilet contents onto the streets. This filth existed not only in villages but also in the magnificent castles of kings. Toilets were often designed to drain directly from the outer walls onto the street below. In the mornings, this waste would be collected by individuals called gong farmers and converted into fertilizer for the fields. Moreover, there was no such thing as toilet paper. Rags wrapped around sticks were used, and it was the duty of serfs to wash them. Fighting diseases was almost impossible. There were no pharmacies selling pain relievers. Doctors were typically affiliated with the church and often came from other trades like farrier, barber, or dentist. In disasters like the plague in an era where 40 million people died, medicine was helpless. You could die from the herbal remedies prescribed by doctors or from the leech treatments they applied. In such a primitive medical environment, even a rat bite at night could lead to your death days later. A quarter of newborns wouldn't survive their first year, and the majority of the remaining children died before the age of 6. The average life expectancy was only 31 to 32 years old. The people of the Middle Ages often died in the wars of feudal lords without even knowing what they were fighting for. Even if you survived the war, your village could be raided by looting gangs, and your family, wife, and children left behind could be slaughtered. You could be shot by an arrow while relieving yourself in the woods, or your wife or child could be attacked by a wild animal while gathering wood. If you managed to survive, the exploitation by the church and the nobility would begin. Taxes were collected brutally. The church amassed great wealth by selling religion and fake plots in heaven. Justice was a system where money spoke. Bribery was widespread, and a noble would never be found guilty against a peasant. If you were defenseless in a trial, you would be tortured, imprisoned, or even executed in place of someone else. Tens of thousands of women were thrown into the water, accused of witchcraft. If they emerged alive, they were deemed a witch and burned. If they drowned, they were declared innocent but still died. Military service was another disaster for the serfs. Armored noble knights made up only about 3% of the army. The common folk like you, instead of expensive horses, fought with these cheap spears you see. They embarked on journeys lasting days and often perished from archer fire, catapult stones, or bombardments before even reaching the battlefield. The Middle Ages was an era dominated not by swords but by filth, hunger, and relentless hardship.